Hi, I'm Dwayne Brown. Tonight on KPBS Evening Edition, some big news from Chargers Park.
It is with a great deal of pleasure that I introduce the new general manager of the San Diego Chargers, Tom Telesco.
Chargers have a new general manager tonight, and he says he wants to create a culture for consistent winning. We'll have more on his plans to turn the team around.
Mr. President, that's not what the memo says. It leaves a vacancy in the position. It doesn't ask for someone to be appointed who is not a member of this council. And I just told you that. You know it very well, and you're asking a phony question, and you will get a phony answer.
Some tough talk at City Hall between Mayor Bob Filner and Council President Todd Gloria. Will tell you what got the mayor riled up.
And the Golden State will turn a lot grayer in the next few decades. I'm Peggy Pico with a closer look at the impact of fewer children living in California. Then we'll explain how San Diego is preparing for a massive expansion of the Medi-Cal program.
And we've seen drones in military use. Now, a local company is trying to expand drones into our everyday lives. KPBS Evening Edition starts now.
KPBS Evening Edition is made possible by Joan and Erwin Jacobs and by
Hi, good evening. Thanks for joining us. The first step in getting the San Diego Chargers back to a winning franchise is official tonight. The team hired a veteran from outside the organization to become the new general manager. Tom Telesco helped the Indianapolis Colts improve from the worst NFL record in 2011 to a playoff berth this year as the team's vice president of operations. Chargers owner Dean Spano says it was a tough decision, but the team wanted someone who could provide significant change after a third dismal season. Telesco says his goal is to create a culture for consistent winning on and off the field.
But we're going to look at every possible angle to add player acquisition to this team. So we're looking at the draft, which will be our main focus, free agency, trades, college free agents, which are a big part of what we'll do here, the waiver wire. So we're going to work at this 365 days a year to give our coaching staff the best players to help us win and ultimately get to the Super Bowl, which we all want.
40-year-old Telesco beat out Jimmy Ray, the Chargers director of player personnel. His first assignment will be to hire a new head coach. That's already begun, and Telesco will be in charge of the interviewing process.
Why don't you ask me what I meant by that first, Mr. President?
I'm asking a legal question, Mr. Mayor.
Some fireworks at San Diego City Council. That was just part of an exchange yesterday over appointments to Sandag. It seems to confirm Mayor Bob Filner's short temper and a feistier atmosphere at City Hall. KPBS Metro reporter Katie Orr joins us from the News Center. Katie, what actually happened at that meeting?
Well, Dwayne, the council was making committee appointments to Sandag, the region's planning agency. They were voting on nominations put forward by Council President Todd Gloria. But Mayor Bob Filner says it's his job to pick the nominees and that Gloria shouldn't have put a list forward. Here's a clip of the feisty meeting.
Mr. President, that's not what the memo says. It leaves a vacancy in the position. It doesn't ask for someone to be appointed who is not a member of this council. And I just told you that. You know it very well, and you're asking a phony question, and you will get a phony answer.
So, Katie, what does this exchange say about what we can expect at the council in the future?
Well, this is likely not the last testy exchange we'll see at City Hall. Filner admits he's an intense guy who demands perfection of himself and those he works with. Yesterday, the council seemed concerned that they were off to a contentious start with the new mayor, and many spoke of the need to work out a solution. Eventually, Gloria and Filner met privately, and Filner came back and apologized to the council. But if this is any indication, we all may want to tune into the council meetings a little more often.
KPBS Metro reporter Katie Orr. Gun shows will go on at the Del Mar Fairgrounds. Some neighbors had asked the Fairgrounds Board to stop holding the shows. The site hosts 5 gun shows a year. The board's president says they will continue unless another board member wants to revisit the matter. San Diego Unified is moving ahead with a review of safety plans at its schools. District employees will check each campus to see what can be improved to its plans and how much any improvements would cost. The district has funds for security from a bond measure approved in 2008. Tonight, we take a closer look at a new report on the declining population of children in California. Peggy Pico explains the importance of birth rates on the economy and environment.
Back in 1970, about 1/3 of Californians were children under age 10. Since then, there's been a steady decline in the state's birth rate. Now, researchers expect the number of children in the state to drop to just 1/5 of the population by 2030. Here with more on the possible pros and cons of a shrinking population is John Weeks, demographer at San Diego State University. John, thanks for being here. Before we get started, I want to put this in context. USC researchers' comparative analysis from the census data from 2000 to 2010, that decade long, showed that California had about 175,000 fewer children than we did a decade ago, making us third in numbers behind Michigan and New York for the biggest decline in children under age 10. Is San Diego County's population trending in the same way?
Yes, we are trending in the same way. The birth rate has dropped a bit. That's put a dent in the number of young people. And that is reflected in the SANDAG draft population projections, though those projections haven't been approved yet by the SANDAG Board of Directors. But that clearly has to be in those projections, that we have this dent that we assume will be a temporary dent in the young ages.
And it's the young ages because overall population in San Diego is expected to climb, correct?
Yes, we expect to add roughly 1 million more people between now and 2050, and the state will also continue to increase in population, but more slowly than in the past. And this little dent in the age structure will move its way through through time.
Let's talk about that a little bit more now. This USC report says that lower birth rates, some of the causes they said were that there were fewer women of childbearing age having children, and that was one of the significant reasons that they said this was. What drives population growth or decline?
Well, there are really three things, obviously: births, deaths, and migration. Now, deaths really haven't changed. Births have dropped in the state, especially among Hispanic women, and this is true throughout the United States, that Hispanic women tended to have the highest levels of fertility, and that gave them the greatest flexibility, I suppose you might say, to drop the number of children in the face of the economic uncertainty that we've been facing over the past few years. Plus, it was the case that Latina women in the United States were having more children on average than women in Mexico. And so over time, those cultures kind of, I think, are merging in people's minds. So I don't expect us ever to go back to the days of very high Latina fertility in this country.
Absolutely. And the other drivers you were kind of touching on is economic.
Well, yes, migration, and that's related to economics, because in California and in San Diego, this is true too. We send more people out to other states than we get back from other states. Were it not for international migration, people coming from other countries, especially from Mexico, obviously, the population would be much slower in growing than it currently is.
3 states in the report, Utah, Nevada, and Idaho, top the list for having the biggest increase, around 25% over the last decade in children. Is that just a numbers type of situation, or do you think there's something particular about?
Well, that's the Mormon population driving that in all 3 of those states.
Okay. All right. Advocates for population stabilization may argue that in a world of 7 billion people, with many of us living longer than before, that a decline in population isn't a bad thing. It might improve our economy or improve our environment. Do you think that's true?
Well, I think for the world as a whole, yes, absolutely. I mean, we are on track right now, even with declining birth rates around the world. We're still on track to add at least another 2, probably another 3 billion people to the world's population between now and the middle of this century. That can't be good for the planet. On the other hand, what we're talking about here is redistribution of population. We're talking about taking people who were born somewhere else, moving them here, or people here and moving to other states. So that's a redistribution issue.
And I understand the social and economic impact on the children here. Each newborn will carry a heavier burden to do that if they're a smaller population compared to the senior population.
Well, yes, and of course that's true throughout the country. This is not a California problem. It's not a San Diego problem. This is a national problem. It's in fact a problem of all of the rich countries, because all of the rich countries had baby booms after World War II. Those baby boomers are now older people, and they and their children have been having fewer children on average. And it's only the immigrants who are able really to fill in the gaps in the young age structure.
Well, much more to come on this. I'm sure we are out of time, so Professor John Weeks, thanks so much for talking with us.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you.
MTS trolley cars designed to speed up on-time performance and make it easier for passengers to get on and off are now in service between San Diego and El Cajon. The newer trolley cars have already been running on the Green Line between Old Town and Santee, and this week the Orange Line was added for the first time. MTS says the lower floor trains provide better access for wheelchairs and should eliminate delays.
And of course, it falls back to the time it takes us to board wheelchairs, and basically some of the trains are late, and when they're late it throws the timing off, and that's what causes the delays. So we expect those problems to pretty much go away once we get all low floor.
MTS is also fixing up the Blue Line from Old Town to San Isidro as part of the renewal project. Those cars should be running in about 2 years. When you hear the word drone, images of warfare or high-tech surveillance may come to mind, but two entrepreneurs have a different idea. They believe drones will literally revolutionize our daily lives, and they're launching what they call the personal drone industry in Tijuana. The story from John Rossman of our Fronteras desk.
Outside a warehouse in San Diego, engineers huddle over a computer. They're about to launch a drone or a remote-controlled aerial vehicle. They punch in a start and end point on a map and take off. The quadcopter that zips by looks like a toddler's nightstand. It doesn't look that threatening, and that's what Chris Anderson is betting on. He says in a decade, drones will have evolved way beyond their current military uses.
Rather than visualizing drones as being sort of, weapon-carrying military robots, you'll think of them as being like crop dusters. You will think of them with entirely new context. We'll forget that drones were once a defense industry thing, and we'll think of it as something you buy at Walmart.
What makes a drone is the ability to go from point A to point B with a click of a mouse or a touch of a screen without direct human interaction. It's a robot using GPS to perform a simple command. Go here. But it's also a launch pad for amazing possibility.
Well, what if we sold a box that you could put on your belt, and while you're out windsurfing, drones would just follow you 30 feet up, 30 feet back, keep the camera on you as you did your cool stuff.
Imagine how this could impact search and rescue missions or pizza delivery. These flying nightstands could transform into hoverboards a la Back to the Future or a fleet of mail carriers.
Okay, here goes.
This is Anderson and his kids flying a remote-controlled plane. It's 2007, and he's obsessed with the possibility of drones. So much so, he started a blog, DIY, Do-It-Yourself Drones, to learn about the emerging landscape. A few hundred miles south, Jordi Munoz was ripping apart a toy helicopter and a Nintendo Wii. The 21-year-old programmer was scouring Google to find out how to use the sensors from the Wii to get his helicopter to fly straight.
1 week before I Googled something, I didn't find anything. And the week later, I Googled the same thing, and I found this blog.
Munoz joined the DIY Drones blog and started sharing the code from his project.
I was just in my own world, in a bubble. So I was like super obsessed trying to make it work, finally work, and then I posted online. And probably I didn't realize that probably I was doing something high-end.
Anderson was blown away by that code. The two immediately hit it off and began collaborating. Fast forward 5 years, today they're running a multi-million-dollar cross-border company that produces and sells hardware and personal drones. The company, 3D Robotics, found success in Munoz's misunderstood hometown, Tijuana. Here's Chris Anderson.
Prior to 18 months ago, I thought Tijuana was drug cartels and cheap tequila. What Jordy knew and taught me was that Tijuana is the Shenzhen of North America.
Shenzhen is China's manufacturing epicenter just north of Hong Kong.
It's not just cheap, it's better skilled. They graduate more engineers. Those manufacturing skills that we've lost in much of the United States are still there.
Anderson believes their use of Tijuana's high-skilled, low-cost labor teamed with San Diego's engineers is the business model of the future. The goal now is to streamline the whole process for the consumer. Buy the drone, download the app, type in the coordinates, and go. Simple enough for a grandmother to fly, and open source for programmers to reinvent the product. But drones remain suspect. Many are concerned about a more invasive drone future, with devices like flying sniper rifles or hovering spy cameras. Ask Chris Anderson, and he will tell you it's entirely possible.
General-purpose technologies are incredibly empowering. They change the world. But by definition, they don't limit the way you use it. Somebody's going to do something stupid, we can't stop them.
Remember, computer technology got its biggest early boost from the military. Chris Anderson is literally banking on the inevitability that the good this technology could do, be it food drops in Africa or firefighting down the street, will ultimately outweigh the destruction it could cause. John Rossman, KPBS News.
You can learn more about personal drones at frontierasdesk.org. By the way, until last month, Chris Anderson was the editor-in-chief of Wired magazine. He resigned last month to focus on 3D robotics. Critics of California's planned expansion of Medi-Cal fear higher costs and a lapse in service, but Peggy Pico explains why new research shows those fears are unfounded and the change comes at a minimal cost to the state budget.
A comprehensive analysis by researchers at UCLA and UC Berkeley found an expansion of Medi-Cal is a good deal for California. The report says that the state will incur relatively minimal cost as the federal government has promised to foot most of the bill. Gary Rado, Director of Health Policy at the Council of Community Clinics, and Jorge Riquelme, Director of Bayside Community Center, are here to tell us more about the potential impact if this goes through. Gary, first tell us a little bit about this Medi-Cal expansion and how it relates to the Affordable Health Care Act.
Well, in the Affordable Care Act that Congress passed and then the President signed, it allowed for states, or called for states, to potentially be able to expand Medi-Cal coverage. Medicaid on the federal level, Medi-Cal on the state level in California. The Supreme Court in July ruled that that was constitutional and that states had the option, weren't compelled to, but had the option to expand their Medi-Cal or Medicaid coverage. And so that's where we are now. The legislature and the governor seem to be on the track and have been moving forward, but need to pass legislation in order to make that happen before the first of next year.
And they're going to talk about that in a special session that is coming up. Now, it's estimated 1.5 million Californians under age 65 would qualify for this new Medi-Cal program. What would that look like here in San Diego in terms of people that would be seen?
Well, the first thing to recognize is that for the first few years, that expansion will be paid for 100% with federal funds. It's a sweet deal for California. And that expansion will look like people coming in, maybe some people that are already coming to clinics as people that have not been able to afford anything, but coming in on our sliding fee scale, or maybe many new people that haven't had coverage before and now want to be taken care of in the clinics.
I believe I read, Jorge, about 120,000 in the next 6 years are expected to participate in this if it goes through. What concerns do you have about this expansion that it might not be so great?
Well, first of all, we're very excited about the expansion, but we just want to make sure that there's adequate level of resources so that we may enroll those most vulnerable, the limited English proficient populations, the impoverished populations, and the immigrant population, and particularly with issues concerning their legal status.
And let's talk about undocumented children, because they are not part of this transition, correct?
That's correct. And there's also concern that an unintended consequence of pulling out funding from hospitals may deny some access to care that they have at the present time. So in light of that, the community clinics are going to play a vital role in support of this population.
Because they can still go there, as we were speaking about, on a sliding scale, regardless of their insurance.
Anybody that presents themselves, we will take care of one way or another.
All right, and let me ask you this, Gary, as far as in the long run, do you think that this expansion would be a good thing for health and for the people here in San Diego?
Very much so. The UCLA study showed that that the Medi-Cal program, if somebody's covered with Medi-Cal, it's going to reduce mortality rate and rates of disease. We're able to, when people are part of Medi-Cal and they're coming in and they're having a primary care home, we're able to take care of a chronic condition before it becomes full-blown. Reach somebody before they become diabetic. Maybe they have pre-diabetes and be able to work with them. Asthmatics, hypertension.
Right, certainly lots of research shows that early intervention in medical situations usually improves. Jorge, is there anything else that your particular clinic or anything else that you feel that this expansion, which won't happen until 2014 if it gets passed, that people need to be concerned about, especially when it comes to seeing their same doctors? Or will they be able to see their same doctors?
Well, that's where community-based organizations make a big difference. Community clinics or community centers as ours, so that we can help people in the process on the bureaucratic morass that they're going to be facing. There's a lot of misinformation, so we need to be sensitive to the needs of this population and aid them making sure that they have access to this expansion of these programs at this time.
All right, and will the clinics be able to help people sign up for the new Medi-Cal program?
Yes, no question about it. We have patient assisters, folks that are very experienced in the process and being able to walk people through, be able to check their eligibility and to get them, whether it's on Medi-Cal or in some type of program. We want them to be covered. We want them to have a medical home.
Yeah, well, we should find out more about that. Sacramento lawmakers are expected, as we said, to have this debate over the expansion in a special session later this week. So thank you both so much for talking with us.
Thank you, Peggy.
Governor Jerry Brown unveils his new state budget tomorrow. Although California's fiscal picture is better than it's been in years, he says it will be frugal. Right now, the state's deficit is just under $2 billion.
I'm Gwen Eiffel on the next News Hour. Do police need a court order to get a blood sample from someone suspected of drunk driving? That's Wednesday on the PBS News Hour.
10 former San Diego Padres were nominated to the Baseball Hall of Fame this year, but they didn't make it. Neither did anyone else. For the second time in 40 years, no one got voted into the Hall of Fame. This year's list included Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, and Sammy Sosa, all of them with records tainted by allegations of steroid use. The Weather Service says king tides are on their way back to Southern California. You might remember last month's very high tides. Water levels were about 8 feet higher than normal. For the next few days, forecasters have issued coastal flood advisories for the morning hours. They say there could be flooding in low-lying areas from San Luis Obispo down to the border. There's also a high surf advisory. Both are in effect from tomorrow morning until Saturday. Rain is also on the way. It's expected to arrive in the early morning hours, so you'll want to plan extra time for your commute tomorrow. Temperatures will be very chilly. The desert will miss out on the rain. Windy conditions are in the forecast there. The annual Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas is a gadget lover's paradise. This year, technology companies are showing off devices promising to make us healthier and to entertain us like never before. Haven Davis of the Associated Press gives us a look.
The annual Gadget Fest, known as CES, is now underway with all the new ultra-high-def TVs and handheld devices on display, along with some gadgets you probably didn't even know you needed, like this robot massager. Healthcare is a big theme in 2013. This kiosk allows patients to see a doctor remotely at a pharmacy or other locations.
And I can see today that you have checked in with a fever.
And so what we're trying to do is create convenient access to healthcare in your local pharmacy. You're sick, you go to our mobile app, you go through, you touch a few buttons, say I've got some inner ear pain. Next thing you know, you're in the pharmacy seeing a doc and walking out with a script, all conveniently in 10 or 15 minutes.
New ways to interact with our devices is a trend this year. Chipmaker Intel debuted an interactive 3D gesture camera.
And you can see the way that the coins interact with your virtual hand. The way that the physics works, it's really kind of cool.
There's always plenty new for gamers here, like the world's first tablet designed specifically for PC gaming. But some say this year's CES buzzword is evolutionary, not revolutionary.
Prices are coming down, power is going up, and this fundamentally changes consumption habits and consumer expectations. So singularity, user experience, convenience, value, these are going to become the watchwords going forward. It's not necessarily about the latest and greatest gadgets.
Haven Daily, Associated Press, Las Vegas.
Recapping tonight's top stories, San Diego Chargers have hired a new general manager. He is Tom Telesco, formerly with the Indianapolis Colts. He helped that team go from the bottom of the NFL in 2011 to a playoff berth this year. He says his goal is to create a culture of consistent winning on and off the field. Telesco's first task will be to hire a new head coach. And some tough talk at City Hall between Mayor Bob Filner and Council President Todd Gloria over some nominations Gloria made for a county agency. Filner says the mayor is supposed to pick the nominees, not the council president. After a testy exchange during yesterday's council meeting, they apologize to the council. We've got tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thank you for joining us. Have a great night.